I don't think I've ever really talked about the current situation in South Korea, but for those, I guess, unaware, I have a high level understanding of what's going on. Like, I know that they have classic advanced, like, or developed nation problems of like their birth rates are going down, and their like I know that there's a huge gap between men and women in terms of like men, like politically, like where men are very reactionary right wing, and women are much more like liberal, like we can provide for ourselves, we don't need, like you're not going, like you're not gonna just like you have to earn the woman, as opposed to a woman just being like a de facto given to you based on the societal structures or whatever. Like, so there's a lot of like that sort of attitudes going on as well. But so we're gonna, and also, by the way, if a lot of that sounds familiar to what we're starting to live through as well, yeah, it is, and that's exactly why I wanted to cover it. So let's go ahead and watch, because I think in some ways, South Korea is kind of is kind of what our future is going to look like a lot. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think it's kind of like what our future is going to look like. So let's go ahead and watch this video. This is from France 24 English. This is Loneliness, South Korea's Silent Epidemic. Let's go.
The number of Seoul residents who live alone is on the rise. Now, one household in every two has a single occupant, and well over half of that group say they experience feelings of loneliness. Many spend long periods seeking companionship online. Man Lee is one of the rising stars of mukbang.
Today I'm going to eat 5 packs of ramyun.
It's a hugely popular format in South Korea, where YouTubers cook and then devour enormous meals while interacting with viewers. Man Lee started making mukbang content because she felt lonely while eating.
I love food and I have a big appetite, so I thought, why not me? And I realized that the mukbang videos I make help others cope with their loneliness and give them the feeling of sharing a meal.
Dude, if I did mukbangs, man, it'd be game over. I mean, I'm pretty lean right now. But like there was a time when I was bulking I was dirty bulking. I didn't track or anything, but I got up to like 180. But like if I was doing these types of things constantly, like I feel like I would inevitably be in a perma bulk situation, which I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. I don't know how these ladies though, they stay so thin. I don't know how often they do these things. I pick out like maybe like I'd say like once a week. So if they only do it once a week, then I could probably survive. But yeah, also, yeah, I feel like this, this might be like a stereotype or something, but I feel like I've seen like the skinny girl who like eats a ton is like a pretty common occurrence when it comes to mukbangs. Is that wrong? I feel like it's usually like when it comes to girls who do mukbangs, I think it tends to be like really skinny girls from what I've seen.
I get a lot of comments like that, and it makes me very proud.
By the way, I don't watch any mukbang content. It's I don't really understand it. I don't really understand why people, I mean, I don't know, unless I'm like trying to get hungry or look for like a place to eat or something, like I'm looking for a place to eat online, or like maybe if I'm going on vacation somewhere and I'm looking for places to eat, those are the only times that I ever watch other people eat food. Otherwise, I'm like, why would I do that? Like, I would rather just eat food myself.
Together.
Ko Yong-ho lives alone in an apartment.
Oh, I completely forgot. We're not talking about mukbangs. We're talking about loneliness. So, okay, let's get back on track, people.
Last 3 months, the 63-year-old, who's unemployed, has been spending his afternoons at a so-called mine convenience store in the hope of overcoming his loneliness. This novel space, developed by the city authorities, enables people to mix casually. A rarity in South Korea where so...
AKA a third space. The third spaces are important, I think. And this is like a government mandated third space, but it seems like eventually America might need government mandated third spaces in order to get people to leave their rooms and like go outside or whatever, because it is something that we have lost just naturally. For those unaware, like a third space is, there's the home, there's your work, and then a third space is any other place that you would interact with, hang out with people. It could be the gym, it could be bars, it could be like wherever, right? Or just like, or if it's not like going out, like it could just be like a local community event, like things of that nature, or like just a local like a local like community space, like that sort of thing. But yeah, this feels like a government mandated one. And as America gets less and less of these around their communities, I think that maybe one day we'll have government mandated third spaces as well.
Social interactions are often formal.
I feel good since I started coming here regularly. It's better than going home and reading alone. Here, I can spend all my time with other people and listen to their stories. I really like it. It's simple. It feels like chatting with neighbors.
And specifically, I think third spaces are supposed to be not things that you're paying for. I can't remember if that's a part of it or whatever, but it's like, if the moment that you're like, for instance, I see a lot of old people hanging out at like Breadco or whatever. Or like I used to back whenever I went to Breadco more, or sorry, you guys would call it Panera. Or like if you don't live in St. Louis, you would call it Panera. But yeah, where they, and which is essentially like a coffee shop style situation where you like where you just buy a coffee and you get free refills and then you can just hang out and talk all day or whatever. Which is like kind of an option, but I think third spaces are typically supposed to be like you're not really paying for things. You're just going there to hang out, like a community center or something.
Like talking to grandparents in the community. But you have fewer wrinkles than I do.
Oh no, I'm getting older.
4 of these spaces have opened in Seoul since March last year. The city expected 5,000 visits in the first few months. Instead, people have visited almost 60,000 times. Another 21 centres are due to open by 2027 to cope with demand.
This is a physical space designed for people who have gone beyond loneliness and can be considered socially isolated. Here, they can interact with other people. The proportion of people who feel lonely is particularly high in Seoul. And studies show that it affects middle-aged and young people most of all.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is, like I said, the destruction of third spaces is kind of like a, I do end up relating a lot of things back to capitalism, but it is like the isolating nature of capitalism is to prevent communal organizing, right? Like it's a necessary part of capitalism to propagandize against communal organizing. So a lot of times these types of spaces are targeted in a sense by the, like, I'm not saying like it's all explicit. Like, I'm not saying like these billionaires or millionaires or whatever are intentionally going around to towns and being like, oh, I see that community space, I'm going to find a way to buy it and then I'm going to destroy it. Like because I hate, because I don't like any communal organizing. It's just like it's more of like a like just undercurrent, like subliminal part of society where people, where these things are just like systematically taken over for profits, and then it ends up inevitably removing these options for people to, like, it's like, why have a place where you're not making money where you could be making money? Like that's like the underlying ideology of capitalism. So yeah, I wonder if they'll talk any more about like the online stuff, like with the youth in Korea. Like I know that they have a very, like, I think a very heavy NEET sort of situation where I forgot, it's the Japanese term for like not in engineering, something technology, I can't remember, but it's really just a stand-in for like people who just are loners who stay in their room all day playing video games or whatever. And I think Korea has a similar sort of situation, so I'm kind of hoping they talk about that a little.
Seoul's government is treating loneliness as a risk to public health. It's announced funding of nearly 280 million euros over 5 years to combat isolation. The measures include a hotline.
네, 트랜스되시네요. 처제님, 그러면 오늘은 뭐 어떤 계획이 있으세요?
Isolated people can call the hotline anytime for advice or just a friendly chat. Counsellors use the calls to identify the most vulnerable people and help bring them out of their isolation.
There are far more people than I expected who have no one to confide in. I think we play that role, helping to combat loneliness.
There's also a political crisis, though, with men and women as well in Korea, where I think I talked about briefly at the beginning, but men are becoming incredibly, like, even more reactionary, like right-wing, sort of like, as society does not really provide for them the same benefits that may have been provided for them in the past. They're getting bitter and angry, which then turns them into more reactionary, more conservative. And then the women are like generally able to provide for themselves to some extent now. And so they're, you're not just when women don't necessarily need a man in order to exist in modern society, it inevitably like leads to more women being like, well, I'm going to up my standards. I'm not going to just take any man that like any schlub off the street. I want, a man who's able to, provide like something other than something other than just the bare minimum of just like existence or whatever, and so there's that aspect which is increasing their loneliness. There's also like the birth rate issue in South Korea is pretty bad. Or I mean, I'm using the terms of the system that we live under, but like when they say it's like bad that we have birth rate or birth rate collapse or whatever, it's because they're not able to produce enough, little worker bees to go fill all the capitalist enterprises in order to send as much profits as possible to the top. So like there's that aspect as well in Korean society. And in my particular opinion, I think that a lot of this is kind of the direction that America is heading. We're starting to see a lot of the things with like the politics of men and women diverging pretty critically. I can maybe find something on that real quick. American politics by party or political affiliation. That's probably it. By gender. Let's see, this is from 2024. I wonder if there's a chart that I can find. Yeah, well, okay. Here's one chart where you see like women are becoming more liberal when it comes to 18 to 29. So that's kind of that sort of future situation. Here's one of, men becoming more right wing, whereas women are, it seems like largely the same on this particular graph. This is only to 2023, though. I think recently there's been a pretty big shift potentially. You see, oh, here's a great example. Here, let's look at this one. Oh, whoops! I need to go back to browser. Sorry, I'm still, I'm still new to this whole streaming business. So, but you see, like, here's like the ideology gap between men and women in the U.S. over time, and then here's the South Korean one. And so, like this, I think though, what you're seeing right now is going to be very similar to what we'll probably experience in the future. But okay, let me keep Yeah, and also the demographics, like birth rate collapse, that sort of stuff is going to be a lot of like the like I don't really care that much about any of that, but it is like if we start going to net zero migration, like Trump has said that we are or whatever, without migration, then there is inevitability to like birth rate collapse. You need immigration in order to facilitate, if you want to, as an advanced like society or whatever, a country, industrialized nation or whatever, and an advanced one like at that, it's impossible to maintain birth rates without a steady flow of migrants. So I think we're also going to see a lot of that sort of stuff in the future. So anyway, that's kind of like the main reason that I wanted to talk about this particular issue in South Korea.
More than 1,000 solitary deaths occur each year in Seoul. And in many cases, they are preceded by loneliness, isolation, and withdrawal.
Cases of solitary deaths, or godoksa in Korean, have reached about 3,000 a year nationwide. As South Korean society ages, the number of people at risk of becoming isolated continues to rise.
First of all, we're witnessing a cultural shift in people's values and attitudes, from a system where people prioritized family to one marked by stronger individualism. Secondly,
that's capitalism, baby.
Family structures have changed. 30 years ago, most elderly people lived with their adult children, but today many live alone.
Young people in this high-tech country are finding new ways to meet. Some are part of the booming interest in children's games, with groups of enthusiasts meeting up via messaging apps and online resale marketplaces. It's 6:30 p.m. and around 50 young people have gathered near the Han River. They're about to play Red Light, Green Light, a game made famous by the hit TV series Squid Game.
I think it was already pretty famous, right? I remember playing that when I was a child.
A few hours just spent hanging out by the river.
I thought it looked like a lot of fun. We're both from the provinces and came to Seoul to study.
We always see the same people at work, so it's hard for me to meet people my age. That's why I organize these gatherings.
The events are a
cool.
fun way to bring people together and address a serious problem at a time when more than 5% of young South Korean adults are considered socially isolated.
Yeah, well, we got to get our shit together. If we don't get our shit together, then yeah, this is our future.